Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're doing a deep dive on something super important, reproductive health. We're going to be taking a close look at this article called Navigating Reproductive Health, Signs, Solutions, and Self-Care. And I'm really hoping to learn a lot. By the end of this, I want to feel like we're all walking away with some serious knowledge and power over our own well-being.
I love that. Knowledge is power. Absolutely. And it's interesting because so many people think reproductive health is just about pregnancy, but it's so much more than that. It impacts a woman's overall well-being in a huge way throughout her entire life, not just during the years when she might be thinking about having kids.
Right. I've always kind of known that on some level, but this article mentioned these hormonal imbalances, and those can actually cause a lot of problems. And that part always makes me a little nervous because it feels like something that could be going on without you even realizing it.
You're so right. It can be like this hidden domino effect, And these imbalances can lead to issues that might not seem connected at first, like irregular periods, for example. That's often a sign that something might be off balance hormonally.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And the article also mentioned PCOS and endometriosis. I've heard of those, but honestly, they've always been kind of a mystery to me. What exactly are they?
Good question. Let me try to explain it in a way that makes sense. So imagine a tiny seed, like the kind that would usually grow into the lining of your uterus, but instead of staying in the pot, it tries to sprout outside of it. That's kind of what endometriosis is like. This tissue is growing where it shouldn't be, and it can cause a lot of pain, especially during your period.
Wow. Okay, I actually get it now. It's a great way to explain it. So what about PCOS?
PCOS, or polycystic ovary syndrome, it's basically a hormonal disorder where you get these little cysts that develop on the ovaries. It's kind of like the ovaries are working overtime, and it can lead to things like irregular periods or excess hair growth, and sometimes it can make it harder to get pregnant.
So both of these conditions, it sounds like it's super important to just be aware of our bodies and notice any changes that might be happening. And speaking of changes, the article also talked about infertility and menopause. Two major life stages where knowledge is definitely power.
Absolutely. When you understand what's happening in your body, it can help you make the best decisions and go through these transitions with more confidence. But even before we get to those big stages, the article really stressed the importance of lifestyle choices. It's amazing how much impact our daily habits can have on reproductive health.
I was actually really surprised by how much the article talked about stress management. It seems like stress impacts, everything these days, but I never really thought about it in terms of reproductive health.
It's a big factor. When you're stressed out all the time, your body produces this hormone called cortisol, and high levels of cortisol can mess with your menstrual cycle and even impact your fertility. The article mentioned that it can actually delay ovulation. It's like your body is putting things on hold because of a deadline at work, which is crazy to think about.
Wait, so you're saying that if I take a yoga class or find ways to de-stress, it could actually help regulate my cycle? Okay, I need to hear more about this. What other lifestyle tips did the article suggest?
Yeah, so besides managing stress, the article also talked about regular exercise. It not only helps keep your hormones balanced, but it also helps you maintain a healthy weight, and those things are both really important for your reproductive system.
It's amazing how much power we have over our own health just by making these small changes in our daily lives. But then it also makes you wonder, what if those changes aren't enough? What kind of medical solutions are out there if things get a little more serious?
That's a really important question, and luckily we have a lot more options these days than we used to. The article talked about medications like, birth control pills and hormone therapy. And those can be really helpful for regulating your cycles and balancing out those hormones.
Right, those are the ones I'm familiar with too. But the article also mentioned procedures and even fertility treatments. Those seem a little more, intense.
They can be, but they're also really powerful tools to help people have the families they want, or to deal with certain conditions. For example, there are minimally invasive procedures like laparoscopy, which can be used to help with conditions like endometriosis or fibroids. And then if someone's having trouble getting pregnant, there are fertility treatments like IVF, which can help make parenthood a reality.
I can imagine it can be a little scary to think about needing those kinds of solutions, but it's also really good to know that they're out there. So what would be like a good example of when someone might need to think about one of these solutions?
Well, if you've been trying to get pregnant for a year and haven't had any luck, that would be a good time to talk to a fertility specialist and see what your options are. They can figure out the best way to help you based on your specific situation.
That makes sense. And before we move on, I did want to touch on something that really stood out to me in the article, which was the emotional side of reproductive health. It's not just about the physical stuff. It could have a huge impact on our mental and emotional well-being too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Dealing with any kind of reproductive health issue can be so stressful and emotionally draining. It's really important to acknowledge those feelings and get support if you need it.
For sure. So where can people turn to for that kind of support?
Well, there are lots of resources available, luckily. Things like therapy or counseling and support groups can be a really good way to process your emotions and share experiences and learn coping mechanisms. And it's a good reminder that you're not alone in this.
That's such an important message. This whole conversation has been really eye-opening for me. I'm finally starting to get a better understanding of the bigger picture when it comes to reproductive health and how much it really affects our lives.
I agree. And it shows just how connected our physical health and our mental health are, especially when it comes to something as personal as reproductive health. And the more we learn about it, the more we can make good decisions for ourselves.
And speaking of making good decisions, I love how the article talked about being proactive and taking charge of your reproductive health. It's not just about waiting for things to happen. It's about being an advocate for yourself.
Exactly. It's about having open and honest conversations with your doctor, asking questions, and really understanding your body. The more we know, the more power we have to make choices that are right for us.
I like that. The more we know, the more power we have. It's like we're putting together this big puzzle, and each little piece of knowledge we get, each healthy habit we create, each decision we make, it all brings us closer to this bigger picture of well-being. It's a journey, not a destination, right? Our reproductive health changes throughout our lives, and so does our understanding of it. What's one thing you'd like our listeners to take away from this conversation today?
I think for me, the biggest thing is just remembering that reproductive health, it's like a key part of our overall well-being. It's not just about getting pregnant or having your period. It's about taking care of ourselves at every stage of life.
It really is, isn't it? And, this deep dive has been so helpful for me already. I feel like I'm starting to see things in a whole new way.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, everyone, this is really just the beginning. There are so many resources out there, like websites and books and doctors who specialize in this. Don't be afraid to ask questions and really advocate for yourself and your health.
That's so true. You deserve to feel empowered and knowledgeable about your own body. Your health matters, and it's worth putting the time and effort into taking care of yourself.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up today, I want to leave you with a little something to think about.
Ooh, I love a good thought-provoking question. Hit me.
Okay, so here it is. What's one small step you can take, like today, to prioritize your own reproductive well-being? Maybe it's finally scheduling that doctor's appointment you've been putting off, or trying a new relaxation technique, or even just taking a few minutes to learn a little more about your body and how it works.
That's a great question. And, I think it's a good reminder that even the smallest steps can make a big difference over time. So listeners, remember, your reproductive health journey is yours and yours alone. Embrace it, take care of yourself, and take charge. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.